So welcome back to the garden here in Neath, South Wales. Well, we've had a really busy weekend. The weather has been glorious. It's been about 15 degrees. So for the end of March, that's doing okay. So we've had a lot of jobs to be getting on with and we've done most of them. So I thought I'd take you around and show you what we did yesterday. So looking now around the garden, the daffodils are really in full swing there, and you'll probably notice that it is looking a lot cleaner and tidier out here, and I did a lot of jet washing yesterday, and it's quite therapeutic to see all the dirt that comes up when you start jet washing, and how does it get so dirty in a year. So another thing that you'll notice is that we've moved some of the mirrors onto the wall, and the Tiki Bar has been opened. So that's clean and tidy and looking a little bit better than a big polythene blue structure in the garden. So it could really do with another coat this year of varnish. But this has been up now, I think, for a few years, about 2 or 3 years. You've still got to add something onto the bracket. And we have added a new light this year, a solar light. But the monkey is back again inside. He's been through the wash. And the nets have been through the wash. And for people that are wondering, because I have had a few questions about where have I bought my nets, and they were from eBay. They were only a few pounds. They weren't expensive, and they've done me for a few years. So all I do is just take them out at the beginning of the season, because I keep them all in a plastic box and all the trinkets, and I just run them nets through the wash in the machine just to brighten them up a bit. But it's lovely to see the Tiki Bar come back out again this year. So as we move now out to the back door and look down the garden, I used to have a large bucket there with a clematis in. Well, that's moved, and I've just placed that now just down the bottom by the greenhouse. So nothing really grows right under the conifers. So I have got a trellis there, and I've just moved the clematis, which was in the bucket, into that space there. Repotted up the Yucca gloriosa, and just behind that, the Salvia amistad is starting to come back. So I've brought that out now from the greenhouse, and inside the greenhouse is looking quite bare. I've got to come in here and give it a little bit of a clean, but there's not an awful lot now inside. A few ioniums and my mangavi. The oleander is still doing well, just tucked away there in the corner, and it'll be staying there now for a few more weeks until the weather gets a little bit better. But that's overwintered quite well now in the greenhouse. Now last week, as you know, I made a bit of a stone structure, and I've planted out Tony's agave. Well, a few of you were concerned that we are going to have a little bit of a cold snap. But I have checked the weather here in South Wales, and I was able to check the weather up until the beginning of April, and we haven't got any freezing weather forecast here. It's going to go down to about 3 degrees. So that should be okay, and I'm hoping that by April the temperatures will start to rise. So I know I have put this out a little bit early, probably a little bit too early. and I realised that, but fingers crossed now and everything will do okay. It's been in now a few days and it's looking okay. So like I said, fingers crossed there. And I have been asked to do an update on the jasmine, just to see how it's doing. So this is the second year now with it in the ground, and it is reaching up to the top. It's not far off. I don't see any flowers on it just yet, so I don't know if we're going to have any this year. But it's doing okay. It is filling out on the trellis. So it's good news, and I am loving this vertical planting. It's doing really well. So walking now down the garden, it's lovely to see the pale blue flowers there of the brunnera. It's just at the back of the border. And if we just spin around, you can see there, that's the cycas. And I did put a little bit of fleece in the centre of that, just for the winter. And we've got a little bit of damage there, but all in all, it's quite protected in this garden with the wall behind, and it survived. So things can only get better now. If the weather does turn colder, I'll just replace the fleece back into the centre. So if I just spin you around, you can see that I've just swapped a few grasses around this area here. The yucca, rostrata, that's doing really well. And I've just added in there a little cactus. My parents have grown that outside, and they decided that it'll look nice in this garden, so they brought it up for me last weekend. So I've surrounded the pittosporum, that's the Bano Bay, with the lime green now, and I think that just makes that purple pop. And just tying it in now over the other side, there's another Bano Bay just at the bottom of the pathway, on the right hand side there. The bright red colour of the Photinia Carré Rouge is looking wonderful in the garden at this time of year. And it just adds that little bit of brightness when there's not really an awful lot going on. I've got a few of these in the garden. I think I've got about 4 or 5. And that really does add a little pop of colour. So the bed that's against the wall in the garden, this is the one where the bamboo was. And I've just replanted that up lately with some rhododendrons and some akuba. And I've just moved, well, Tony moved one of the trellises. So that now is just against the wall, next to the other trellis there. And that's got the Clematis amandii. This one, I've just got the Ernest Markham. And you can just see it there now, just popping up. And it's also got the shade of an akuba there. So I've got one last job to get done in the garden for this week, and that is to place a lovely thick layer of mulch just on this border here. So I'm going to get on with that now. Now with the clematis, they don't like having their roots in a sunny position. So I've got that about 40 centimetres away from the wall, because if you plant it too close, it just won't get the moisture that it needs. And I've added in some bamboo canes And hopefully it'll flower this year, right up to the top. I bought it a few years ago, but it was so dry down the other end of the garden, underneath the conifers. So I'm hoping that that little plant there will grow all the way up to the top of the wall. Let's wait and see now what becomes of it this season. Now you may be wondering, what on earth have I got in this pot here? Well, this was the pot that we bought intending to put in the agave. So I had it go in spare. And this is the Phormium Jester. It wasn't doing too well after I transplanted it. So I've cut it all back and placed it in a pot with some lovely new compost. John Innes number 3, of course. And I'm hoping, now it is starting to grow back already. Now these phormiums, they do usually come back. They're pretty tough and hardy, definitely in this garden anyway. So I'll keep you informed on how well this is doing over the next few weeks. So would you like to show Tony what you've been doing today?
Show Tony what
Putting up.
I screwed that up.
I know. Tony put up a trellis. It's a bit skew-iff.
Yeah, it's perfect. Gotta spin it level like that. Great.
Yes, it's looking good. Be nice now for my clematis to put up there, and we've moved it from another part of the garden. And there we've got a clematis Ernest Markham. An Ernest Markham. 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 Have you heard of that before? No.
Ernest Markham, yeah?
No.
Markham and Wise.
So what else have you been doing, Tony, down in the garden? Anything? Well, you've done the Tiki Bar.
Oh, Tiki Bar and another Tiki Bar.
Done the Tiki Bar, that's all done. You're full of catters. That's Vim, that is. But he's a good boy. He's worth it. Well, my new bit of edging. Well, my old bit of edging that's been repurposed. And the clematis has moved now down to the bottom in a pot. Yes, thank you. And that now can grow all the way up there. I won't put it in the ground because it's so dry, but it should do okay there in the pot. It was also lovely to see that the Acer is coming back with its leaves, and I've got a few of these in the garden, and this is the first one. This is an Acer Sirio, I think you pronounce it. And this has also been moved around the garden quite a few times, but it's been in the pot now over the winter. And it's right in the seating area. And it's looking wonderful. And we've also got some life just springing up with the hostas. And this is the hosta guacamole. It's quite a few years old now, but it's pushing up through the soil. So I'll probably give this pot a little bit of a refresh now in the next few days. Add some new compost to the top. And I was also busy yesterday just hoeing and weeding all of the triangular bed, as I always tend to get a problem with grass growing here because it's underneath the bird table. So I've always got to come out with my hoe. So that's looking a lot tidier now, and that'll be okay now for a few more weeks. And what I noticed is just how well this Euphorbia robii is doing, tucked at the back of the John Phillips. This went in as a single stem, and it's full of flowers now. It really is a lovely Euphorbia, this one, as it does tend to grow in shady spaces. It loves the shady spaces, so it's ideal for a north-facing garden. And that lovely popper colour brightens up the shady spaces also. Now at the very bottom of the garden, in the corner, I've also got another Euphorbia robii, just tucked in there. So let's open up this landscape bark. You can probably hear now that people are out and about cutting their lawns in this weather, and I don't blame them. But that's one job that I haven't got to do because I haven't got one anymore. So it's always difficult to get this mulch out when you first open the bag. And I'm just gonna put a nice generous layer all over this border. And what this will do, will keep the moisture in when I water, and also help to keep the weeds down. So it's a win-win situation. And I also like it for the way it looks as well. I think it looks a little bit more finished with a little bit of mulch around the plants. Makes it look a little bit more decorative. So I'll continue now doing this, and then I'll show you how it turned out after. Right, so I've been around the garden and I've just popped down a little bit of that mulch. So this I do about every 2 years, not every year. And as I said now, this will help to keep the moisture in and also to keep the weeds down in the garden. And it'll also break down and add a little bit of nutrition as well. And that looks a lot better now around the plants. And I've also done around the outside of this bed here. So again, this one was done about 2 years ago. And that's looking a lot neater. So I also want to open up my new bottle of feed. And this is for camellias and rhododendrons. So it says 1 capful to 4.5 litres. So I think that'll be enough. So I've got a few rhododendrons in the garden and I've never actually fed them before, although they are in Ericaceous compost. But I did look it up the other day and they said it's best to feed them whilst they're in bud, and then again in a few weeks later when they're in flower. So hopefully that will give me some lovely blooms this year. And I'm going to do exactly the same with this camellia. And this has never had a feed either. First time. I also trimmed back the dinosaur heuchera, and these grow really large. And it's looking absolutely perfect there with the new growth. There's not a blemish on that plant. Fabulous. So it's been really nice this weekend to be able to get out into the garden and get some of them jobs done ready for spring. The temperatures have been fantastic. The sun is out at the moment and is unbelievable for this time of year. So I hope you've enjoyed going around the garden, seeing exactly what Tony and myself have been up to this weekend. Busy as always, there's always jobs to be doing. And if you haven't already, please like, comment and subscribe. It's completely free to do so and it helps the channel to grow. So until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.